Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line right now, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. How's everybody doing?
Blessed, black, and highly favored. Good morning to you, Bishop.
Doing pretty good.
Hey, Bishop, you know I love you, man. You help me get through all the time. And you got a new book out, Don't Drop the Mic. The Power of Your Words Can Change the World. What is this book about, my brother?
Well, it started out to be reflections on preaching, speaking, public speaking, interacting. But then we went through all of the racial tensions and we went through all of the pandemic. And then I kind of broadened the subject to just, we have to keep talking. We have to keep reaching out. We have to communicate with each other. And as we pass the torch from one generation to the other, don't drop the mic. It's your turn up to bat. And communication is the only way we're going to get through the crisis that we're dealing with.
Now, I want to ask how you've been holding up during the pandemic. How's everything been with you? Because you're somebody that's usually out and about. You're in the community. You're moving around. You're giving meals away. You're doing so many different things. But now they're telling us to sit down. So how has it been for you?
Well, we served the community and we gave out food. We gave out water. We gave out clothes until we started getting so many people infected that we had to back off a little bit. We're not able to have service yet. Open the doors fully. So we were working with the doors closed for over a year and still serving first responders and doing what we could to make a difference. And we still do to a degree. But for me personally, it's been nerve-wracking. I'm not a house person. Mm-hmm. My wife is. So she's in heaven. She's in heaven. She doesn't even know there's a pandemic. But me, I'm absolutely like climbing the walls sometimes. But I've been busy. I adjusted, I adapted, and I have new levels of Zoomitis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Bishop T.D. Jakes, initially, this was not the book that you intended to write, and you were convinced to do it. So talk about why you feel like this is important, especially now.
Because I think the torch is passing. Leadership torches, vision torches, business torches, in the arts, in ministry, in every area, the torch is passing, as it always does. Life recycles itself. But what doesn't always happen is the preceding generation doesn't always tell the next generation what they learned. Mm-hmm. So you have to go for yourself, and nobody gives you any information at all. And so in the transition of power and influence and social justice and churches and businesses, I'm not just saying don't drop the mic. I'm also telling you what I learned about the mic and how to diversify your speaking from the way you talk in your community to the way you run a boardroom to the way you stand in front of an audience and understanding that audience and being able to be more articulate in that setting. And the reason I'm passionate about it is because I think it's the young people's turn. It's your turn. It's your time. It's your season. And just to be a coach over in the corner telling you, Doc, watch out for this, prepare for that. This is bigger than you thought it is. You can't talk to this group like you talk to that group. The message is the same, but the method is different. Those kinds of coaching things are all in Don't Drop the Mic.
Now, Bishop, let's talk about that, right? Because the book does give people tools and skills to help communicate better. And you give career advice for those who want to grow into a speaking career. You even talk about it in the first chapter, The Gift of Speech. But how much of this can you really learn? Like, you can't teach what you do, Bishop. That's an anointing you got.
It was driving me crazy trying to articulate what I do. Nobody's ever put that kind of demand on me before to explain it. I can do it, but it's hard to explain it. I think you have to have the God-given instinct inside of you, and the book will help you to go further. But let's be honest, if you don't do it for anything but to help you in your personal relationships, communication is hard with your kid, with your wife, with your parents, being understood, talking to each other and not at each other. And so I think to some degree it will broaden your life no matter who you are, but particularly to people like you and others who hold a mic. There's a difference in the way that you talk in this setting and the way you talk when you're negotiating your contract. And so being able to be bilingual enough to walk into different rooms creates broader opportunities for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think as a community we do that? I always talk about it. There's so much that I feel like we don't learn, and then our kids have to relearn it. Like when we don't try to teach our own, like, and not just mentally, or whether it's real estate or it's either taxes, accounting, attorneys. Like, we don't teach each other. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the fear and the focus on getting up, that people are so focused on getting up that they don't reach back. But you reach a point in life that, for me, it's all about legacy. It's all about who's next. Mm-hmm. It's all about helping you get where you're trying to go. I'm good. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I just want to help my children and my generation's children achieve their dream, and to leverage whatever influence I have to help facilitate that gives me fulfillment.
Is that the reason why now on Sundays, when I tune in to Potter House, sometimes it may not be you speaking, it might be Sarah, or I can't remember I can't remember the other woman's name, the white
Tubman, Pastor Tubman.
There you go. Is that the reason?
Yeah, I'm passing the mic. You can't pass the mic and not give the younger people a shot. And I don't want to just rust out up on the stage. I want to give somebody else a shot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the younger generation doesn't communicate as much as, say, we used to, just because there's so many different distractions, and also the way they take in information might be smaller sound bites than what we're used to? That's
what I talk about in the book. Mm-hmm. The Gettysburg Address would have never been a tweet. Mm-hmm. you can't do Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in emojis. That great speaking, which I start out talking about, Dr. King, that actually changed the world. Nelson Mandela, people like that changed the world, were articulate. There's been more changes in the world because of speaking, because of a microphone, than there has a pistol. And so in the midst of your anger, understand that we have not won these battles by shooting them down. We spoke them down. And I just don't think we understand the power of the mic, because we're raised with emojis and TikTok and all of this other stuff. And we don't understand the virtue of eloquence and the significance of articulation has changed the world. And it still will.
Like you just said in the book, you talk about how social media is diluting the power of words. So how can people use social media to help instead of harm?
First of all, I got everything social media I can get. I don't have TikTok, but I'm about to get it. Okay, so I'm on it. I think you just have to control and not take the way you talk in a social media environment to work with you. To your marriage, mm-hmm. to your children, to make yourself right and think and read, and not just think that because you Googled something, it's true. It's okay to read a book. Mm-hmm. You can't lead if you don't read, but everything you see on the internet absolutely is not true. But we have a generation who takes the internet for gospel, right, that it is absolutely right. And so just opening up communication to tell them how to check, how to verify, how to really get the real deal, especially in a pandemic. We want to separate fact from fiction. But there are all kinds of pandemics fighting our community, not just the medical ones. And we need to be able to share one with another. I just did Clubhouse, packed out room, talking to young people till over into the evening. And then I was so geeked when I got off the phone, I couldn't go to sleep. There are proper ways to use it that will enhance you and not deteriorate your intelligence.
You should have dropped this book 15 years ago, though, because there's a lot of those old tweets and old words on social media that is definitely coming back to change people's worlds nowadays, and not for the better.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. It's a really scary thing. The other thing that's important is we don't just communicate with words. We use body language. We use voice inflection. Our eyes communicate. There's so many things that we lose when you start having a discussion about something important with somebody in a text you open up a huge door for a big fight because they don't really put it in the context. They don't hear it the way you said it. They hear it the way they hear it. And so pick up the phone, for God's sake, and at least have the important conversations in a verbal way. It cuts down on confusion. It can save a deal, save a marriage, save a life.
Let's go deeper on that, Bishop, because in chapter 8, it is learn the grammar of body language. But that can be tricky, too, because some folks deal with social anxiety, so they might be shaking, voice trembling, and they may absolutely know what they're talking about, but they just got those social awkwardness. So how important really is learning the grammar of body language?
Well, it goes along with another chapter where I talk about listening as a part of talking, and that until you learn to listen well, you'll never speak well. That's true naturally, but that's also true as it relates metaphorically. I think you have to know who you're talking to. And so if that person has an inclination to do that, through observation, you begin to observe that. And we calibrate. We talk in the book, I talk about adaptability. You got to stop hiring people that are inflexible, because we are in an adaptable environment, and you have to be able to pivot quickly. And in the process of being adaptable, once I understand that you have a quirk like that or a physical abnormality like that, then I allow for that in the conversation quite quickly. We're quite adaptable. Our species was designed to adapt to its environment, and you can make adjustments as you go.
And one thing you talk about also along those lines is practice does make perfect too. And so sometimes you're nervous. You might have a fear of getting up and speaking in front of people because it isn't an easy thing to do when you're not used to it. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Exactly. The first time I got up to speak, I couldn't hold the mic because my hands were shaking. I had to put my hands behind my back and lean into a microphone stand. I mean, my hands were shaking so bad that you could see it. And then I got even more nervous. Just because you're not good at something the first time doesn't mean you can't do it. And it's not just about speaking. This is bigger than speaking. When I talk about pass the mic, I'm talking about any opportunity, platform that you're given. You might not naturally hit it the first time. Don't give up. Practice makes perfect means you don't get to be Tiger Woods playing basketball. We have people who are shotgunning. You're shooting at so many things that you're not good at anything. Bring your focus down to the thing that you really care about the most, and then put the practice in that it takes to make perfect, because you don't get there overnight. Don't give up. We give up too quick. We give up on marriage. We give up on people. We give up on ourselves. We give up on entrepreneurship because it didn't work the first time. Nothing worked the first time for me. I spent 10 years preaching to less than 100 people. Nothing starts out the way it ends up. And when you see somebody at the end of the movie, you draw conclusions that aren't accurate because you didn't see the first 20 years. You came in on the last 5 years. But the first 10 years helped me to be able to withstand the pressure of the last 10 years. That sort of thing.
Do you think people give up too fast in everything, in marriages, in life, in their profession?
Absolutely. Because we buy into this mythical reality that either something works or it doesn't work. You take people who've been married, I've been married 40 years. You take people who've been married 50 years and they say they've been happily married for 50 years. Get out of here. And nobody's happy 50 years. You learn how to stay when you're happy, stay when you're not happy, stay through different seasons and turmoil. People have not learned to endure each other's failures while they tolerate their own. We are much better at inflicting pain than we are ingesting pain. And so it's easier to see what's wrong with you than to confront what's wrong with me. But in the process of relationship building, there's something wrong with both of us. And over the next 20, 30 years, we're going to run into it, and figuring out a way to make things work is important. We have not been taught to fight through to victory. And I think it's like a Rolls Royce. You never see buy one, get one free with a Rolls Royce. Right. It's never going on sale. Greatness never goes on sale. It costs what it costs. And if you don't put in the practice, you can't make the performance.
That's a good segue into chapter 6. Where does it hurt? And you talk about letting the need find you. What does that mean?
It means it means a whole lot of things. You're the most powerful where you're the most passionate. Passion hurts. It hurts to care. It hurts to be involved. And you are the most powerful when you are the most passionate because of the pain of the situation. That's true about speaking. It's also true about business. The most successful businesses are not built by people who say, I'm going to start a business because I want some money. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants some money. You need some money. You got to have some money to survive. People who build the business around a problem, then their business becomes a solution. You never have to market a solution. The problem will find you. So the most successful entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs who built businesses that solve problems. So when you find your problem, you find your business. But just building a business because you want some money and you want to control your own hours is always going to fail because you're going to work 3 times as hard to build the business, and you're going to find out if you want time off, go work for somebody. Don't start a business.
How does your messaging, right, about being able to speak and the words that you put out there, how does that translate into the film business for you and the projects that you decide to do?
Oh, it's everything. To me, film is an opportunity to deliver a message in another way. If you think about Jesus, we have very few of his sermons, but we've got all kinds of his parables. He was a storyteller. And so the reason that I'm in film, and you segue so beautifully, you're a pro. The reason that I'm in film and I'm getting ready, I got a Lifetime film coming out, 7 Deadly Sins. The first deposit is Lust, comes out this Saturday. The reason that I speak through film is because it's like my way of telling parables, cautionary tales, entertaining, provocative, not preachy, but they still got a message in it that I think is going to be powerful. And I've got, if you allow me to list, I've got some of my people like Tank is in it.
Harry Hilson.
Yeah, absolutely. Tobias Trevelyan. Darrell is in it. Darrell, which is Tank's real name. LaToya Lockett. It's a gang of people. Originally directed by an African-American woman. The script was written by a woman. The first director was a woman. We shot it in Atlanta. We created jobs for hundreds of people to do this. There's a lot of great reasons to do this. Mm-hmm. I have had a relationship with Lifetime before, and we did a project with them, Faith Under Fire, and it was one of their top producing films. And so we're back doing 7 Deadly Sins. We've got 2 of them already done. I hope to do the next 5 if I can get y'all to watch it, TiVo it, turn it on. I don't care if you turn it on while you're brushing your teeth. Actually, if you watch this, it will captivate you because it is a message about dealing with lust. And that's something everybody deals with at one point or another.
Everybody.
Even you, Bishop?
I think I remember a day. once upon a time, on a hill far away. Yeah, I remember it.
I got a question. Now I was going to ask you. You speak to a lot of young people, and during the pandemic, I know my kids, but during the pandemic, I really know my kids. I know what they eat. I know everything about them because we're all up on top of each other. And I'm watching TV with them. And while watching TV with them, I realized that the shows that they're watching, the cartoons, are a lot different. Meaning, I'm watching the cartoons and I see that one of the cartoon things say that they are depressed. And I'm watching the cartoon saying that they have anxiety and they need money. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking about at that age, I never had those conversations. I never thought about money or being depressed or anxiety. Do you think what these kids are watching now is making them open to this stuff too early?
I think that what they're watching is a reflection of how they're feeling. I think the reason that we're seeing an uptick of suicides amongst Black children is because they are traumatized. You cannot have these images of the murder of George Floyd. And people, those images for children are terrifying. What they're dealing with in the school, trying to figure out what a pandemic is, trying to figure out why grandma died and we couldn't go to the funeral. They are traumatized. And I don't think that the cartoons are creating it. I think they are reflecting it and trying to make the parents aware, because sometimes, and I know this from raising 5 kids, I was so involved in trying to feed them, keep a roof over their head, make sure they had school books and everything they needed, that sometimes I didn't realize that my kids were going through trauma too. Right. And so I want to encourage all the parents that are listening at me right now. I know you're busy. I know how hard it is to get you up on your feet and get situated. And you're going out one door, she's going out another. But we can't leave our kids alone because they're going through another kind of trauma that will come back to haunt you in later years over and over and over again. Trauma does not go away. Trouble don't last always, but trauma hangs around.
Oh, I tell people all the time, if you don't deal with your trauma going to end up dealing with you.
Absolutely. 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 And I think we really need, again, a language. In the book, I talk about being bilingual, and being able to relate to children is very, very important. They have a different language, a different way of communicating, but it's important. I looked up in my church, I'll soon be 64 years old. I looked up in my church, and my church is 50% millennials. And I thought, how did that happen? It's not so important that I be one. It's important that I connect with you, that I resonate with you, that I care about you, and then that I communicate with you. We have 50% men in our church, which is unheard of. And it's the ability to communicate, to transcend language down into the vernacular of the audience that you're talking to.
You know, Bishop, we had Sarah on the other day, your lovely daughter. Yeah. I mean, the audio was messed up, but she said how supportive you were when she became pregnant at 14. How did you feel when you initially heard that news? What was your inner language to yourself before you spoke to her?
It was a scene I will never forget. It was as if all the air went out of the room. I was a fairly young man, maybe 40. I was busy and preaching and going and doing. Her mother was primarily focused on the kids. And Sarah walked in the door and told us that which she had hidden from us for a long time. I was shocked. She'd never been on a date. I was disappointed. I was hurt. But I was committed, because to me, family is loyalty and ride or die.
That's right.
Up or down, sink or swim, I'm always going to have your back. But I will not lie and act like that was easy to hear. It was difficult to hear. But later, fast forward, wait a minute, go back. I would have done anything to get her out of that situation within reason. I wanted to save my child. I love my children. I wanted to save my child from the grief and the agony and the controversy. And then when you're a public figure, you're living in an aquarium and everybody feels free to discuss your life. Fast forward, I realized that the very thing that went wrong became the spring from which all of her ministry came out of it. All of who she is today came out of it. And sometimes the best thing to do with kids is let them go through what they've got to go through to become who they've got to become. I know that now, but in the moment, it scared me to death.
Did you care about the words of the church, your congregation?
No, that didn't bother me. That wasn't the part that bothered me. Everybody thought that would be the part that bothered me. I don't care what people think. I cared about my child.
That's right.
I cared about my daughter. I didn't care about my image. I didn't care about what somebody wrote. I didn't care about what people said. Nothing about that at all. And by the way, for my church wrapped around us like a blanket. They were very, very loyal. Of course, there were haters, and there were people who said horrific things, but they were irrelevant to me. When you weigh your child against the public, If you don't pick your child, you're not a father.
That's right. You know, something that's very hard for me, but necessary that you talk about in the book, Don't Drop the Mic, is using silence to speak for you. How do you use silence to speak for you?
Yes, I use the phrase the pregnant pause. Some people are afraid of the silence.
That's right.
But there's something about a pause because speaking is a rhythm. It's a flow. Even as we're talking now, we're talking in a rhythm. You're not going to have dead silence, but sometimes silence says everything. And not to be afraid when you're speaking of the pregnant pause, allowing the person to reflect, to think, to let the silence speak for you. And then, as my wife often says, silence cannot be quoted. So if somebody asks you something and you don't want to answer it, you don't have to answer it. Silence cannot be quoted. You're a grown person. And they'll figure out as the silence runs across the airways to go to the next question. Learning that silence is a tool is very important in negotiating. And somebody makes an offer, silence can be very powerful. You don't have to fill the air with chatter all the time to be a great comedian. Comedians do it better than anybody. Sometimes the comedian never actually says what was going to be the hot line. He just turns around and looks at you and goes, and you get it. You know what I'm saying? You just get it from a look. And the art of doing that, there's an artistry to letting silence bring home the punchline.
Now, I know it's also been difficult for you not being in person with your congregation. So how is that balance for you with trying to make sure that everybody stays safe, but of course, knowing that people want to be back in person again? How are you deciding when that's going to happen?
I miss them like I miss my teeth. You know, you really can't be good at this and not love people and not care about the people. But to me, the choice became either keeping things going on as normal at the expense of killing them and risking their life, or shutting down an organization that I have 300 employees that I didn't want to let go of, and just throwing my faith out there that some kind of way we were going to make it. And I chose number 2. I shut down the doors. I have kept all of my people on payroll. We work from home. Some of them, they just home. Some of them work from home. Some of them are just at home. But I kept them on the payroll because, to me, the greatest treasure any organization has is its people. That's why they call it human resources. If you're lucky enough to get good people, you want to hold on to them. And so I was able to hold on to them. I miss my staff. I miss our church. I miss our reconnecting. And it depends on how we handle this whole vaccine, the whole virus thing, how soon we can safely connect. We're doing some social distancing. I've done some social distancing funerals. I've done some social distancing weddings with masks on, looking like it's Halloween. And I'm standing there, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded way? I want to get back to normal as quickly as anybody, but I think until we handle this invisible assassin, it won't be fully safe.
Now, I'm starting to see more people in the congregation on Sundays when I watch online now. So give me the word. I'm flying out.
Come on out. I'm gradually, I've got a lot of protocols in place. I'm doing a lot of things to make sure that it's safe, social distancing, masking, cleansing the pews, the atmosphere, the restrooms, behind everybody. There's a lot that goes into creating a safe environment. One of the reasons I didn't just open flat out is that a lot of pastors would take my lead and they would open up, but they don't have my protocols.
Gotcha.
And I want to make sure that those protocols are in place. I don't want to kill us.
Right.
Ever in my life. None of us, even the ones of us that don't like me, I still wouldn't want to hurt you. And so as a leader, I feel extremely responsible to make sure that things are as safe as possible. And I err on the side of caution. A lot of people stayed open longer than me. And a lot of people opened it back up quicker than me. But a lot of people died.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bishops died. A lot of families, first ladies died. A lot of members, choir members died. A lot of people died playing Russian roulette with this terrible enemy that we have out here right now, globally.
That's right.
Now, what are your thoughts on the vaccine? What are you telling your congregation? Are you taking it?
I took the Moderna.
Okay.
I took both shots. I went in the room with my sleeve up and my pants down.
What? What the hell, Bishop?
I'm teasing.
Was that when you had the lust? You dealt with lust?
No, this was not a lust. This was a life thing.
Gotcha.
At 64 years old, hypertensive, slightly overweight, doing funerals every time I turn around for people who died of COVID, mm-hmm. and comforting families who have contracted COVID. I needed to have the vaccine. Mm-hmm. I don't really tell my congregation what to do. I'm not a medical professional, mm-hmm. But I lead by example. I did it on TV. I did it on Dr. Oz. Mm-hmm. I did it in front of people. I didn't hide that I did it. I would like to see us do it. Mm-hmm. I understand why we're afraid of doing it. My mother graduated from Tuskegee. I understand the history of the atrocities that have occurred in this country. But it seems illogical to me to think that somebody is trying to kill Black people when everybody that's getting the vaccine is white people. Mm-hmm. Right. If you look at the stats, the preponderance of the majority of people who are getting the vaccine are white people. We need to understand the myths from the facts and then make a decision. And don't listen to me. Listen at your doctor. Listen at your health professionals. Pay attention to them, because we already got enough maladies that when we contract the virus, we don't always recover, especially older people. Now in my area, the average age of death is around 35.
Wow.
Mm. Did you pray over the vaccine? Did you pray over the vaccine before you let them put it in your arm the way you pray over your food?
I prayed over the decision.
Okay.
A long time, because on the other hand, I do want to be protected, but I don't want to grow 3 extra toes either. so, the first few days, I was looking to see if an ear was coming in. Did I have an extra toe coming out? But as I interact with people and move around, as I often have to do, having every layer of protection, I still mask, I still social distance, helps me to feel just a wee bit safer.
And Don't Drop the Mic, Chapter 4, you got a chapter called, Chapter 4 is Find the Joint. Why did you use that chapter to talk about marijuana, Bishop?
I had a weak moment. Don't judge me.
No, I'm messing with you. It wasn't about weed. It was about the context of conversation and tone. And you say we entered into the American dream while still in the deep sleep of an African nightmare. Talk about talk about that.
Well, I'm talking to you. You have to understand, I'm writing in the middle of the whole country exploding, mm-hmm. and I'm saying we are focused on what divides us. We have to find what unites us, and finding the joint means anytime you're going to negotiate a settlement that brings peace to a dispute, you have to find the joint. What is it that we all need? What is it that we all care about? And how do we get there more effectively? Nelson Mandela was able to heal to a large degree the aftershocks from the apartheid, because he brought the oppressor together with the oppressed and made them listen at each other and find out what it was going to take for the country to survive. We don't need a chief divider. We need a chief uniter that's going to bring us. We're never going to be solely together. We're never going to agree about everything. That's okay. But if we agree on things that make life safe, if we agree that I can lay down in my house and not get shot, if we agree that I can go jogging and not get shot and you look the other way, if we agree that my kids can play in the front yard and not get shot by a police officer, if we agree that I can have life without COVID, without bad air, without water that I can't drink, we all need water, air, safety. Let's not act like this is a racial issue. This is a national crisis. Nobody wants to be shot in their own bed. And to have an argument about something that we all need, it's ridiculous. We must find what unites us. And all of us fight for it until it ceases to exist anymore.
That's right. You know, I got a couple more questions, Bishop. When you talk about not dropping the mic, right? And I feel like it's too many people nowadays with a voice. I don't feel like everybody's qualified to speak. So what makes someone qualified to speak or lead the masses? Well,
social media made everybody a journalist, you know, and we still have to go back and respect the people who paid the dues to earn the right to be heard. Now, you have a right to say whatever you want to say, freedom of speech, but I have a right not to listen. So I don't think we will win by trying to get them to stop talking, even though they're not qualified. And sometimes they suffer from low self-esteem and a need to be heard. Mm-hmm. But we can stop listening to people who are leading us down the wrong path or do not have the credentials or the background to be able to prove that what you're saying works. Like the first thing I said, I'm not an epidemiologist. So you know, this is a decision I made as an individual, but right. I can't advise you about a health malady. Go to an expert. You wouldn't get a heart surgery from a governor. Right. Why are we allowing elected officials to tell us what to do about our health? I mean, so find the joint of what makes sense. And let's go with that. Let's get away from people who are talking about, I don't know what's in it. I don't know what's in orange juice.
Well, you know, unless you make it yourself, you know.
Yeah, unless I make it myself. I don't know what's in Bayer aspirin. I don't know. And because I travel internationally, I have to take vaccines all the time, even to go into third world countries. So I'm a little bit more used to it. But my point is finding what unites us, find the joint, find the connecting point. Even if you're listening at me in a relationship, instead of spending all the time talking about what you don't like about each other, healing starts when you start reminding yourself what you do like about each other. Because when you walk away, what you don't like will start being less important, and your heart aches when you lost what you do like.
That's right.
All right.
I wanted to say one thing. I'm totally in support of this, right? How important preparation is when it comes to you actually having the opportunity to be on that mic. And you actually quoted Mark Twain, and you said it usually takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. So can you discuss just your own evolution? Because you talked about how the first time you actually had to talk and your hands were shaking, but how did preparation actually help you when it came time for you to actually have to get on that mic?
Oh, it's very, very important. I don't like to speak about something that I don't know anything about. And number two, even if it's a subject that I'm versed in, I think that a great message gestates in the womb of your mind and your notes like a baby does in a womb. And it grows and it develops and it evolves before it is delivered. And so this is how you respect the mic, with preparation. And we've got a lot of people. You have to understand today in the world, whether you're talking about elected officials or clergy or anything else, anybody who wants to be something can jump up and be it. But just because you call yourself a duck doesn't make you quack. Mm-hmm. And it really takes more work to be proficient than what most people realize. And that preparation, that process is critical. And by the way, the more prepared you are, the less nervous you are. The more confidence you have, the more prepared you are to deal. So I talk about studying the text or the information that you're about to deliver, but I also talk about studying the crowd. because it's not enough to know who you are. You need to know who you're talking to. If I'm talking in the Breakfast Club, there's a different vernacular that I would use than if I were talking on TBN, because it's a different audience. It's a different demographic. It's a different terminology. And so those terms might not fit this opportunity. If I get on the Bloomberg Report, I have to talk in a different language than I'm talking now because it's a business. And I'm trying to get us to diversify so that we can get out of the gravitational pull of our history and escalate toward our destiny.
You don't dress like you diversifying. You dress like you about to perform every time we see you, Bishop, no matter where you at.
I knew you was gonna say something about what I had on. First of all, you cannot be impressed today with this jogging suit and my equality shirt on.
That's Sean John, though. You fly.
But I watch
you got the Sean John on. You fly.
I watch you every Sunday,
and
Bishop.
I fly. Okay, y'all have to teach me what's fly. Sometimes I get it wrong. And here's the funny part. I'm barefoot.
Oh,
you barefoot.
So, I only have to look good from the waist up.
Right. So you got the whole tracksuit on, or you got some pajama pants on?
No, I got the whole tracksuit on, but
Okay.
then I got soft feet and my toes are wiggling and I'm comfortable and that feels good. It feels real good. I'm just being real. I did not put on shoes for y'all. I hope you're not offended.
No, but this is my last question, Bishop. How important is grace? I don't feel like we give each other enough grace in this era. How important is grace?
I cannot stress how critical it is. I don't have to condone what you did to love you and to care about you. And I think we all need it. We all have to have it. We have to be able to give it. And I think especially through the trauma of the times we're living in right now, people are acting out in terrible ways, but they're traumatized too. And we've been traumatized for a long time. And I think grace is important. I will reach out to people that other people threw away. I will try to help them limp back home because we shoot our wounded. And we shoot our wounded. We devour each other. Let me tell you this real quick. I read I think it's the New York Post, when the virus first hit, that the restaurants had all shut down. Mm-hmm. The rats in New York live off of the trash can of the restaurants. They started starving to death, and they started eating each other. And something in my spirit said, watch those rats really carefully, because as pressure mounts, people become cannibalistic too. And I think the more pressure we're under, we turn on each other and devour each other rather than helping each other find the food. And I think we really have to extend some grace. Now, where there's abuse, where there is trauma, you can't expect me to forgive you while you're stomping on my foot. So we got to deal with this stomping on my foot thing. And we have to hold people accountable for their behavior. But then we have to come right behind them and love them back to health again, because those are our brothers and our sisters and our moms and our dads. I don't care what's wrong with them. We used to be a family. We used our community. We had problems. We've had debates. We had disagreements. We had Judases. We had traitors. We're just like everybody else. But we used to be a family to the point that we would help grandma carry her groceries to the car.
That's right.
We used to be a family that we would nod at each other going down the street. I know that's old school. I'm sorry, I got gray hair. I get the right to be old school. We don't love each other. We shoot each other over a candy bar. What's up with this? I mean, sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we don't extend grace. And if you kill it, Dr. King said, I got a picture on the wall of him in a march, and he's holding up a sign, and he said, men are not our enemies. If we kill them, with whom shall we live?
Dang. Man, thank you, Bishop.
That's right.
My spiritual, emotional, and mental health, thank you. I don't even know if you know how important you are to me. And watching you on Sunday morning is a ritual, and I can't wait until I can get out to the Potter House to see you in person, my brother.
I can't wait to have you back out. Any of you are welcome. Any of you are welcome. I'll show you. You should come down. I'll mess up your diet, but we'll have some fun. I will feed you this Southern hospitality, clog your arteries right up.
Oh, no. I'm coming. I'm gonna hit Jan. I'm coming.
I'm tired of you hitting Jan. Whatever status it takes to have your number, I have not attained that yet. But someday, I will enter into the Jan realm where you don't have to call Jan to talk to me. Okay, someday. It don't have to be right now. I'm willing to work on it.
Absolutely.
Well,
hey,
Bishop
don't drop
TJ,
the mic.
Pick up the book. Get it right now, and we appreciate you for joining us.
And make sure y'all watch Lifetime and watch Lust this weekend also.
Thank you all.
All right, it's the Breakfast Club. It's Bishop T.D. Jakes.